I'm your host, Jay, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Hype Club podcast. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? I'm doing great by God's grace, and I hope all of you are doing great as well. I really hope you're doing your part in order for everyone to enjoy our summer this year. So, keep wearing your mask, social distance, or stay at home. On today's episode, we're back with another special interview, our first one of 2021. And I really think you'll enjoy it like I did. But first, to have one of your talent artists or celebrities on the Hype Club podcast, please send us an email inquiry at thehypeclubpodpr@gmail.com. For advertisements, sponsorship inquiries, or have us promote your brand and review your products in one of the Hype Club podcast episodes, or on our website, listen up.
Want to advertise, sponsor, or you would like to be a guest on the Hype Club podcast? Send us an email at thehypeclubpodcast@gmail.com or go to our website at thehypeclubpodcast.com. To keep up with all the episodes, subscribe and listen on Apple Podcast or on all platforms where podcasts are available. The Hype Club Podcast is your one-stop destination for trending world and celebrity news. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
Also, make sure to follow the Hype Club podcast on all social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook at the Hype Club Podcast and Twitter at the Hype Club Pod. Now, sit back, get your favorite drink and snacks, press play, and enjoy this awesome interview. Let's go! On today's show, our special guest is the co-writer and director of Limbo, a 15-minute dramatic short that tells the story of a man wanting to reconnect with his estranged son and a lost love from his past. Please welcome Mr. Nathan Leon. Hi, Nathan. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on.
No problem. Thank you for joining us on the Hype Club podcast today. By the way, did I pronounce your last name correctly, Leon?
Yeah, it's actually Leon, but you're very
Leon.
close.
Okay, Leon. So it's French?
It is French, yes.
Ah, Leon. Okay. Let's start by telling our audience who is Nathan Leon. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you come from.
Yeah, sure. I'm actually an independent filmmaker from San Diego, California, originally, and I've actually been making films for about 10 years now. And kind of worked my way up shooting independent shorts, and then eventually a couple features, documentaries, and then also narrative films. We just, my wife and I actually founded our own company, Visionary Film Productions. And since founding that company, we've just been working on independent projects. So mostly in the dramatic narrative category, and often revolving stories around families. And so now we're actually living in Alabama. We're out of California now for about 3 years, where I work for a television network where I produce shows and different documentaries as well.
Great. This film has been in the works since 2015 with Kickstarter crowdfunding, if I'm not mistaken. Why it took so long?
Yeah, we actually, we've had the film done for quite a few years now. We haven't released it. We originally made the film as sort of a calling card to our style of filmmaking, and also as a just put out there to get investors in our other films taking a look at our work. So originally it wasn't even planned to necessarily release other than in festivals. And we're at a point now where, it had just been sitting on the shelf, and we were ready to, Joshua's career has really taken off, and we were really proud of the work he did in it. So it just felt like the right time to release it and let people see what his first film was.
Awesome. Can you share the story of how this project came to be?
Sure. Yeah, I had actually been just kind of thinking a lot about different ideas on my past and mistakes that I had made. I think we all have things that we regret, and then there's lessons that we learn from it. So while I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about fatherhood because I was going to be a father soon. the story's themes are about family life, and they're about growing from our mistakes and how we learn different things at different stages of our life, and then how we take those lessons with us into the future. And those were all themes that were on my mind. So I wrote the script in a short form, and I was in San Diego at the time, and I started kind of looking out for talent, and I did a talent search, and Joshua's name came up, and we contacted him, and we did an audition with him, and everything's kind of history from there.
Okay, so the movie was filmed in San Diego?
That's correct. Yeah, we were living in San Diego at the time.
Were there other actors originally considered for the role of Caleb, or Joshua was your first choice from the beginning of this project?
No, we actually, we had auditioned probably about 20 different teenagers. I think Joshua was about 14 or 15 at the time. And so about 20 others, but by far Joshua, you could see his talent early. He was just very natural in front of the camera. I did a screen test with him. And each take that I would do, he would give us something different. And you were always kind of looking, it's really tough to find young, great actors and at that age who's just seem natural. And, we just knew right away that he just had it. And I remember saying on set to some of my producers, I said, this kid's going places. And obviously at this point, we can all see that he has.
Yes. I think Joshua he played Ricky Bowen in Disney's High School Musical, the series.
That's correct.
I think that's where people know him. This 15-minute dramatic short film illustrates the importance of fatherhood and the consequences of the choices we make in life. Can you elaborate more about Limbo, and what was your drive behind making this movie?
Yeah, we actually had we were kind of looking at the time to tell a story that we felt was relevant in getting fathers to spend more time with their kids. That was kind of the overall theme. And we, at the same time, wanted to create something that was visually dynamic. It was our first short film with our production company, Visionary Film Productions. So we wanted to leave a mark and show how we shoot and what our style is visually. And so I wrote the script particularly playing a lot with kind of time and memories. Those are big themes that I often write about. And then also on top of that, just creating storyboards for some very dynamic visuals. The character goes back in time and then a little bit into the future. So we're doing a lot in a short amount of time, which I think is what keeps it dynamic.
You were privileged enough to be mentored by some of the top Hollywood producers, directors, and screenwriters through the Act One program. First, what is the Act One program? And then can you tell us how was your experience and what was your biggest takeaway from that time?
Yeah, I would say Act One is a program that's based out of Los Angeles. In 2008, I started my mentorship there, and then it continued until about 5 years after that through different mentorships. But what it actually is they take Hollywood producers, writers, directors, almost like a classroom setting. The difference is, instead of just being at a school where you're only being taught by a teacher, these teachers actually are working in the industry. So they will do a class, and then they'll go right into the Warner Brothers studios or Paramount studios and do their day job. So what was happening was they were teaching young writers such as myself at the time, and up and coming directors and producers how to write and how to package projects. And you're learning from the best. You're learning from the guys who are working in the industry right now. So at the time, I was mentored in writing by Bill Marsili. He wrote Deja Vu with Denzel Washington.
Yes.
And that was very formative for me. He taught me a lot about story structure, what kinds of movies Hollywood will buy and produce, how to write, with great themes and, great heartfelt characters, but then also something that is commercial. So he taught me a lot about that. And I'd say probably my biggest takeaway from going to Act One and from learning from them, what I took was you really have to kind of be a jack of all trades these days. And you got to learn kind of every facet of the industry. So, instead of just sitting around waiting for a script to sell, I learned that, you should learn how to produce, learn how to direct, learn how to do it all, learn how to market. That way you're not stuck just waiting for the phone to ring, you know? And so that's kind of what led to Limbo. Is I had written a lot of screenplays, and I learned at Act One, you need to start doing it. And so that's what we did. And you know, at the time I was working a day job, and I was just shooting it on the weekends, and eventually we got it out there, and you know, people started noticing. So I guess the moral of the story is, you know, don't be afraid to take chances and to do whatever you have to do to get your films made.
Exactly. Do you know if the Act One program still exists today?
It does. Yes, it does. I'm not sure how many students they take now. At the time I was in it, they would take 30 students every summer. And the way you would get in is sending in some samples of your writing. I believe it is still primarily right now online. I don't know if that's mainly due to COVID or not, but yes, it does still exist.
Okay. The film will be available on Amazon and Vimeo on demand. How do you think the advent of streaming platforms can or will impact the short film space?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to help it grow. I know that there's, you know, nowadays it's harder and harder to keep the attention of viewers, both young and old. And short stories are an easy way to go in and just get, you know, a quick story that's entertaining, even if you don't have a lot of time. And so with the streaming now and all the different platforms that are growing, it seems to only be helping. I've been in contact with quite a few beyond Amazon and Vimeo that have been asking to take a look at the film. They'd be interested in playing it, such as Shorts TV, and a couple other platforms. So it seems to be growing, and I think that there's so much material out there now, and there's so many filmmakers that you have a lot of options, though. You know, there's a lot of options to get your work out there and to get it seen, and you know, in turn, that helps you get your feature films off the ground. So Limbo was really instrumental in helping us to make our first feature, and you know, I suggest to other filmmakers to do the same. Start with some shorts.
For the ones that have no clue what it is, can you explain what's the difference between a short film and a full-length one?
Yeah, sure. So a short film is basically, you know, it's the same as a narrative, and then it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. They both are telling a story about a character, and that character's changes hopefully within the film, and then you're looking at him at the end of the story and seeing how the events in the story affected him. So it's the same as what you'd see in a full narrative, just shorter. So instead of you know, being an hour and a half, you're looking at anywhere from 15 to maxing out at about 30 minutes. You know, some shorts are as short as 5 minutes, but the goal is still to tell a story, and the goal is still to represent themes that are important to you. And as always, whether it's a short or a full-length feature, it always comes down to the character. And I think if the audience, you know, loves the characters and they relate to the characters, I think that's what makes a great film, whether it's short or long.
That's true. Which one do you like creating more, like short films, the full-length series, documentary? Which one you like doing more?
Yeah, we've worked on all of that, and I'd say my favorites are probably at this point in my career are series and also full-length films. We haven't really made a short in quite a while at this point, mainly because the people that we're dealing with with our investors are looking for long-form content. So we have a couple different TV shows out right now, and then we're also working on full-length films. So that's kind of my focus these days.
Okay. Throughout your career, which particular filmmaker has influenced you the most till this day?
That's a great question. That's a tough one too, but I would say probably you know, Spielberg, not to be cliche, but you know, he's a great filmmaker. I'd say Spielberg for sure. I'm gonna have to give you three. I can't give you just one. I'd say
it's okay. It's okay.
And then I'd say M. Night Shyamalan, who directed The Sixth Sense.
I love his movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, right?
Yeah.
He's got such a cool style, and it's always different. It always keeps you guessing, and it's always entertaining. And you know, that's what a good story does. It entertains, and it you know, teaches you, and you learn about some great characters. And then third, I'd say David Fincher, who's the director of well, he's done quite a few, The Game, and he's done Fight Club, and he's done, you know, many others. But they all have just such a unique style, and they're all so different and not afraid to be original. And you know, that's what we try to do as filmmakers. We try to show what our voice is, and they all have a very strong voice.
Those are great choices.
Thank you.
The subject of family, spirituality, self-reflection, hope, and fatherhood, just to name a few, is an occurrence in many of your movies, documentaries, or series. Example, and The Prodigy was about a dad protecting his estranged son Caleb from the outside world. And then there's Limbo, which talks about the story again of a father wanting to reconnect with his estranged son, I think also named Caleb. Is
That's
it
right.
intentional or just coincidence?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Actually, the short film Limbo with Joshua Bassett in it, it was actually created in order to try to get more people involved in my full-length version of that story. So Prodigy is an extended version of Limbo. And it's funny because you were just talking about how our short stories different from long. So it's the same themes, the same characters, but this is a longer version of it. And it has way more details and a lot more financial backing to it. But really, the story is so similar because it's the same basic premise.
Okay.
I wrote them very close together. I think Limbo was about a year before I wrote Prodigy, and we used Limbo as a way of bringing it to our investors and saying, take a look at this film. This is something, the ideas we want to express and the way we want to shoot it, and it helped us get Prodigy made.
Okay. How this movie is different than any other past work you've done?
Yeah, I think it's different in the fact of it was definitely, I learned the most from it. I had to do on it pretty much everything because when you're a first-time filmmaker and you're starting out, you just don't have a lot of help, So I think it taught me how to be resilient and determined and how to, just figure out how to get things done. And so sometimes that means that you got to carry the lights around and get the camera set up. And, I definitely had a crew and they were very, very helpful, but it was a very small crew. Mm-hmm. And, you learn also, I learned from it how to take a small budget and make it look bigger. Because a lot of, it's all about what's in front of the frame. And so regardless of your budget, if you plan out your shots and you get great performances, the film can still stand strong.
Yeah, that's true. Can you tell me what are some of your favorite short films and why?
Yeah, I'd say a short film called Apricot. Apricot is a movie by Ben Briand, Briand. He's a great, talented filmmaker. He's working a lot in commercials now. He has this film called Apricot that was very similar in themes that I like to explore. But he's very into memories and flashbacks and learning from your past. Mm-hmm. And the film, I think, is also on Vimeo. I actually met my composer through that. He worked on that short, and I loved his music. I loved the tone. It was very in sync with the kinds of things that I write. So we partnered up on this project. So yeah, Apricot, and then I believe probably another short would be. And along the same lines is the same creator, and I believe it was called Jane Has a Gun, but I'd have to recheck. It's also Ben Briand. He's a very unique filmmaker, and I think he's doing close to doing narrative full-length films as well at this point.
Okay, I'll definitely check him out later. If you ever had the opportunity to remake any classics, which one would you go for and why?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. A classic film that I would remake, I would say...
And your own way.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. I would say maybe... Wow, you really stumped me. I'd say probably that Christmas, the Christmas Story. I'm like blanking out right now on the name of it. Hang on, it'll come to me.
It's okay.
It's the favorite. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I am totally blanking on the name of it.
Yeah, same here, but I know what you're talking about.
Wow. The listeners are going to be like, come on, guy. Yeah. The story, I'll tell you exactly what the story is about. It's a story about a guy who is going through life, and he's on the down and out, and he's literally at the beginning of the film about to commit suicide. And then he realizes, oh, you know what? My life needs to turn around. I need to start looking. And he's shown by an angel of all things, what the world would be without him in it.
Yes.
And It's a Wonderful Life. It just came to me. Wow. I have no idea why it was that difficult to get. I have no idea. Anyway, the themes are things that I think about in my writing. I often express, even Limbo has a lot of those themes on how we can learn from our past, find redemption. And I just love the opportunity to try to take that film and with what we have nowadays with visuals and what we can do with special effects and reimagine it. I don't anticipate that's going to happen anytime soon.
Well, you never know. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Are you working on anything new right now that you can talk about? And if yes, with everything that's going on in the world with the, pandemic and all, how COVID conscious have you been?
Yeah, so the first answer to your question, yes, we're working on quite a few projects. One is called Grace by Night. It actually won a Movie Guides Award for Most Inspirational Screenplay. It's a drama.
Congrats.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. It's right in the wheelhouse of the types of films we make, which are inspirational dramas primarily. We have a cast that's already pretty much lined up. We're still securing financing for it. So hopefully we'll have that done soon. And that's a full feature.
Can you give names?
Yeah, I can tell you who's not secure, but I can tell you who we're talking to. We've talked a little bit to Ashley Bratcher. We've talked a little bit to Cameron Arnett from I Still Believe. We've talked to Antonio Sabato Jr. about the project. He's very interested in playing the lead. So there's a couple of them. Sherry Rigby, she's also in I Still Believe. I'm sorry, she's in October Baby. So quite a few actors are interested in it. It's actually about a crisis hotline worker who he takes on the job as a crisis hotline responder as a means of coping with a tragedy that happens in his life. So he goes out on the streets and he goes to the people who are in really tough situations and tries to help them out. And he's doing it mainly because he's trying to understand his own pain and his own suffering. And through it, he learns more from them than they do, from him. So, so it's an interesting story. We're pretty excited about it. And then also we have a series on television right now called Icons. There's a show that we did called Icons El Camino, and currently releasing in about a month will be Icons Lourdes, and that is a documentary series about a group of special needs kids who go out to a place called Lourdes, where they believe that there have been apparitions of Mary there, and there's reported incidents of that. So miracles have been reported there of people being healed in these waters, and it was just a fascinating story to do. So that's exciting. And then as far as COVID goes, there's so many different protocols in place now. We definitely, when we're preparing our budgets for investors, are very cautious. We have to factor in the COVID protocol into our budget, which can be expensive. But you're obviously it's a tough situation because film crews, there's a lot of people, and that's not a good mix with COVID. And so we're taking all precautions, and it's a lot of mask wearing. There's a lot of tests that are done daily. And so each film that we're working on, we prep for those kinds of things.
Okay. One question back with Icons, you spoke about spirituality. Are you someone that's very spiritual? Because like I said, it's an occurrence in your projects and your movie series. Are you someone that's...
Yeah, definitely. I am. And I think the key is, for me as a filmmaker, is not to be preachy, but you can still, find spirituality in your themes. And I think that there's a lot of films that have, I call them spiritual films, even though they may not be labeled, either like a Christian film or a faith-based film. So for example, we were talking about M. Night Shyamalan, that The Sixth Sense is a very spiritual film. I mean, that's talking about the afterlife, whether or not we're still around when we're dead, if there is an afterlife, So those are the kinds of themes that I would call spiritual, and that I like to explore. I don't always, give answers to, what you should think, but I do like to explore those ideas because I think that they're natural questions that people ask in general.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't think anyone hasn't thought, what happens when I die. And so another example is Signs with Shyamalan. That movie is about spirituality as well. You know, it's about aliens, but not really. You
Yeah.
know, they actually have a full 4-minute monologue about what do you believe, and do you believe in miracles? Are you a person who believes in miracles, or are you a person who just thinks that it's all happen circumstance? And I love those questions. I love exploring those questions in film, because I think everybody wonders them at some point in their life, and so it's interesting.
Yeah, it makes you think,
Yeah,
more deeper.
exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying exactly. And for me, I want our films to be entertaining, but also to get the audience thinking. And I think if you can do both, then, that's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I don't like those empty movies, Like they're
Yeah.
okay, they're entertaining, but
Yeah, yeah. There's plenty of popcorn films out there,
yeah.
but, and also, the truth of the matter is, because drama is a thing that, there's topics that you can bring up that make great films. And the popcorn movies, and when I say that, I'm saying, Marvel and all the comic book movies, I watch them, don't get me wrong, but it's very difficult to compete with that kind of a budget. If you're you have to be one of those guys who are getting those $200 million budgets, to compete with those kinds of films. And so a character and the themes you bring up in your story are often, when you don't have a $200 million budget, are often ways to keep an audience invested. So that's another reason we explore those.
What would you like the viewers to take away after watching Limbo?
Yeah, I would hope that when they're finished with it, they would feel, think about their own life, think about the decisions they're making currently, and think about if they're living the life they want to live. And a big theme in Limbo is we never know, when our last day is, and that's something that I really live by. And how am I living each day? Am I being a good person? Am I happy with the person that I am? And if it was taken away tomorrow, would I be okay to go? That's the primary theme of the film, and I would hope that it gets people to ask themselves that question. And I think that if you do, it helps you to live a better life. At least I hope it does.
Yeah. If you could give upcoming aspiring directors, writers, or young filmmakers one key advice, what would it be?
Oh, I would say be persistent, never give up. And it's a really, I'm not going to lie, it's a tough business. You have to have stamina, and you have to really want it. And so I would say just keep with it, keep working hard, and and never let anybody tell you it can't be done, because it can be. If anyone else is making movies, there's no reason you can't be doing it too.
Great advice. Well, Nathan, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Hype Club podcast. Please remind us where we can find you on all social media, and when and where Limbo will be available.
Yes, Limbo is actually, and our company is at, the film can be found at Visionary Film Productions. Film is singular, productions is plural.com. If you go there, that's our website. You can see all about our upcoming films and Limbo. It can be purchased streaming or the DVD. And if you get the DVD, you get behind the scenes as well. So you'll see some extra shots of Joshua. And then also it is on Vimeo on demand. Amazon is coming in the next about week or so. It'll be on Amazon. And we're adding new platforms daily. So if you go to Visionary Film Productions, you'll see the new places it will be streaming as well. And that's where you can find out all about us and our company and what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you again for being on the Hype Club podcast, Nathan.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This ends today's show, and thank you all for joining us on another episode of the Hype Club podcast. Tune in next week for the latest world and entertainment news. Until then, have a great day. Ciao!